Hey, what is going on, Aquarius? Put away the guns. Butch Tarot here. I am going to do your 1 week reading. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your sun, moon, rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. I'm going to use the Wild Reflections Tarot. Absolutely love this deck. The artwork on it's phenomenal. It really paints a picture. Anyway, with all that being said, let's get it. Universe, what message do we have for Aquarius? What's going on for Aquarius? All right, Aquarius. So the first thing I see there is someone new coming in, and I feel like this one just hits different. You know, right off the start, I feel like you're gonna have a deep connection with this person, but I feel like it's different. What I mean by that, I feel like it's more of a cerebral connection. I feel like it's more of a mental connection. I feel like this person is very intelligent, and I feel like it just kind of gets the mental juices going. You know, I mean, I feel like this person, it kind of, they think outside the box. You know, but I mean, I feel like it's the way they think that attracts you. You know, very analytical. You know, they really have a way with figuring things out. And but like I said, it's also very creative. Maybe someone that's into some sort of art or some sort of, and when I mean art, I just don't mean like paintings. I mean that, you know, it could be a musician or a composer, a songwriter, that type of energy. It's someone that's very intellectual, and they use that in their everyday. And I feel like it's their intelligence that really, like I said, you know, when you're around people and they're not really mentally stimulating, and all of a sudden this one person comes in and they're just like, they're talking about things that you may not even understand or may not even think about, but then they get you thinking about it. Only an Aquarius would truly understand that, I believe, because the Aquarius are so intelligent, and they really need people to, you know, around them that can keep up with the conversation. And I feel like with this person, there's this fearlessness with this person. Like they're a little out there, but they're okay with it. You know what I mean? One thing I love is that when you see someone and they're kind of, you know, they're kind of different, but they embrace it. You know, I love that. One of my really good friends, he blows glass. And again, he makes like pipes and stuff, um, and other things, ornaments, stuff like that. But um, he is unique, but it's him. You know, he owns it. Anyway, very unique. Like I said, with this person, like I said, I feel like they inspire. You know, they inspire it. You know, when you're around this person, I feel like you just feel like you wear, kind of like feeling like you belong, like you're not just this alien species. Like I feel like sometimes when we're around people that don't get us mentally or don't understand our individualism, it's it's hard for them to really grasp us. Like, people can get us, but not really get us, if you know what I mean. But I feel like with this person, you just get each other. With that Queen of Wands, I feel like they invoke embracing your individualism, your individuality. Because a lot of times we meet people, especially when we have a connection with them, they're trying to tie us down and trying to get us into some kind of label. With this person, I don't feel that. I mean, I feel like they spark. They nurture. And I feel like with this person, it's very honest, very direct energy. Like I said, they're not afraid to be who they are. I feel like they're a little bit different, and I feel like, they just get you. They understand you, and they just make you feel like you're a part of something. Nurturing energy with that star card, that Aquarius energy, and we have the Queen of Swords, very, very bold and honest. And I feel like this is only furthers this connection you have with this person. We have the Hangman, seeing things in a different perspective. I feel like this person thinks, like I said, outside the box, and it's like broadening your horizon. And a lot of times when we're around people that don't spark our mental juices, we're not really being ourselves. And all the Aquariuses that I know, I mean, they're thinkers, and they're people that want to be stimulated mentally. Like, some people want to be stimulated emotionally or physically, but Aquarius is, I mean, they get the cerebral connection is very important for Aquariuses, especially, like, that's from my experience. Obviously not all, depending on your chart, but like I said, I mean, I feel like independence is important, but doesn't mean you can't be part of something. I see a very strong friendship with this person. Like I said, with that two of Cups, I feel a strong bond between the two of you. And like I said, with all that mental connection, they kind of leave you thinking about them when they're not around. Just really wanting to be around this person, finding yourself drawn to them being drawn to you. Now, there is a bit of mystery with this person as well, so another thing Aquarius are going to enjoy. We got the Five of Pentacles, so usually this is kind of like going cold on you or ghosting you. A lot of people think of it that way, but with this, I feel like it's more like they're in, they're out. They're not. There's no label here. This person, when they're with you, and when they're not, they're not. Does that make sense? Like, when they're with you, they're engaged with you. They're having fun with you. They're making you laugh. But when they're not around you, they're not bugging you. You know what I mean? They let you be you. They let you be independent. They let you, they're not trying to tie you down. Excuse me. I feel like your intuition is going to tell you this person is different. And I feel like you're going to feel that from the beginning. Trust that. There's a very open energy with this person. No walls, no boundaries. I mean, I feel like this person not only inspires you, but wants to be inspired by you. They look at you as someone that inspires them. You're inspiring each other. A very interdependent type relationship here. You both bring things to the table. You're both necessary. You're both, are engaged when you're together and really feed off each other. I always like being around people that we can spitball ideas off each other. Sometimes you're around people and you say something to them and they just like scratch their head and they have no idea what you're talking about. My friend that I was talking about, when the one that he blows glass, he's very into astrology, and me and him had some really deep conversations. And he feeds me mentally, and I feed him, and we just have this partnership where when we're together, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people judge him for the way he looks. He's got the dreads. He wears like, very different clothing. He always has these really. He has like he must have 100 pairs of glasses, but they all have different shapes to them. Like he has heart ones. He has, a lot of people stereotype him as like a hippie, but he's so smart. Like he's so intelligent and he's so open minded, and I can literally go up to him and just start talking about something right off the top of my head, and he just jumps on board. He doesn't look at me like you're crazy, bud. I love that. Anyway, we'll get back to the read. Now, with this mental connection, like I said, very, very intense cerebral connection, I feel a lot of physical energy as well. And I feel a lot like a lot of open mindedness to that as well. I feel like exploring. It's not so much. How do I say this? It's not so much as just the passion between the two of you and the fire. It's discovery. It's not so much just having a quickie and getting over with. It's more like discovering each other. It feels very deep, very intimate, very passionate. Opening, kind of opening the doors to. I'm keep getting images in my head, but I really don't want to put it out there. I mean, it's a lot of experimenting. Just because I feel like they feel connected to you in a way that they can be that. I mean, I feel like they have all. I mean, they're filling up your cups here, Aquarius. They're very intelligent, very passionate, not overbearing, not overly clingy, not overly emotional. It just kind of reminds me of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. One was too hot, one was too cold, one was just right. That's the energy I'm feeling here. Is like this energy is just right. It just suits you. Now, not to say they don't think about you when they're not with you. I just don't feel like they're not hovering. They're not pushing you for anything. They're just letting it happen, letting things go with the flow. And I feel like it will continue to flow. Like I said with that Two of Cups, I feel like there's a very strong bond between you and this person. And I feel like it's not going anywhere anytime soon. I feel like we're going to continue down this road and we're going to enjoy the ride. It's one hell of an adventure in front of you. And I feel like it's just getting started. And last but certainly not least, I mean, we have the Tower card in reverse. So it kind of represents like no drama, like no jealousy, no keeping up on you, that type of energy. You know what I mean? Like that Five of Pentacles, like I said, that in and out. I'm gonna call it in and out for this one, not hot and cold, because I don't feel like I don't feel like they go cold on you. I just feel like they're not necessarily all over you. Sometimes you'll be going and finding them, and sometimes they'll be finding you. Maybe a few witty texts here and there, but it's really no pressure. No drama with the Tower in reverse. No chaotic energy. Sometimes when you get in a relationship where there's not really any labels, one person kind of pushes the agenda, or the other person, wonders where are we going with this? You know, it's none of that. It's just kind of like letting it flow so naturally. And I love that. Now, with this person, we have a lot of fire and a lot of air. We have Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. We have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. We do have some Pisces. We have some Taurus. You know, even people that say, okay, you know, I'm not looking for anything serious. And then 3 minutes later, they're like, where do you see this going? Or they text you and they're like just something super casual. And then all of a sudden they wait like 2 seconds and you left them on red and they're like, why are you ignoring me? Or they say something in a text. I always love that when someone says something in a text. They didn't ask you anything. They just said something, and then they're mad that you don't reply. Like, what am I supposed to reply to? You didn't ask me anything. You know, it just reminds me of this, this girl. We were kind of hanging out, not really exclusively. Like, we weren't hanging out. Like, we never once went anywhere together. You know, it just happened to be a certain place that I was at. I found out later it was all by design. You know, she was asking around, finding out from people. You know, her friends would text her and say I was somewhere, and she'd show up. I didn't know that at the time, but anyway, it was just very. It seemed very chill. We hung out, we talked a little bit, we laughed a little bit. Nothing ever, no intimacy, no holding hands, nothing like that. And I remember I ended up getting back with an ex. And she sent me this really long text, this other girl, how hurt she was. She thought we had something special. And I was like, what are we talking about? We, not only did we not have anything special, but I don't even know how she got my number. Because I didn't give it to her. We never texted. Like, there was nothing, you know? And she was telling me how I misled her, and I was like, I don't remember even leading you anywhere. I don't remember, like, I don't know what I did. Like, I'm so confused. But I remember, like, what confused me the most, I miss a very vital part of that story. When we talked, you know, I just said I just got a relationship. I wasn't, you know, really looking for anything. And she said, oh, no, me neither. She said, I just wanted to have some, you know, somebody to be friends with, and, you know, maybe someone to, you know, go grab a coffee with, something very casual, you know. And then that's what really confused me, because when I ended up getting back with my ex, because I hadn't been broken up very long. When I ended up getting back with my ex, when she sent me that message, it felt like we were on 100 dates. Yeah, you know, like, and I proposed my love to her or something. Like, it just felt like it was a very deep connection that she was having with me that I had no indication that was going on. So, I mean, some people take things differently. And like I said, with her, she was very clear that she wasn't looking for anything, a relationship or anything. She just wanted a friend. So I was very confused, because, like I said, some people don't tell you what they want, and then they sneak it on you when they feel like they've sucked you in deep enough. This is not the energy I'm getting from this person. It was just an example, and I don't know why I even told it, but it's out there now. So be good, take care, stay safe.